If you're building your ABA company and you're tired of guessing, this is for you. We built the BCBA blueprint to give you real structure, systems, and support without the fluffs. Details are in the description.
We've got over 700 members now. It's really cool. We have a bunch of different ABA business leaders, ABA business service consultants. It's a really cool networking opportunity for people to ask questions, and we already have people posting, asking questions and bouncing ideas off of each other. And that was our intention with starting this group. Is there are common ABA business challenges that a lot of you are facing or will face if you decide to start a business. And some of you have already experienced those and overcome those challenges. And so we want you to be able to share your experience or be able to ask questions if you have them. I'd like to introduce Eddie. He is the UX researcher at John Deere. He's had several years of experience in ABA therapy before working at John Deere. And he decided to use those skills to work at John Deere for user experience research. So we're excited to learn more about what made him change and change paths from the ABA therapy side to using ABA for UX research. And we thought that this might be good to get some insight into how to keep people from switching, how to find good people and keep them so that you can keep providing therapy to the people that need it most.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? I appreciate it.
Eddie, thanks for coming, man. We had some we had some preloaded questions here from people who haven't been able to make it to the webinar today. But the context of the ABA industry itself, like one of the major challenges is training and recruiting, keeping your staff on after you've invested all this money into training them. And you popped out to us because it was like, oh, here's a behavior analyst who works for John Deere. Like, what are you doing at John Deere? And then we ended up talking and learning about your transition out of the ABA industry. What we're hoping to get from you today is an insider perspective on somebody who did it you were in for a little over 7 years, right?
Yeah.
So to make it 7 years into a career and then decide to make a change, in an effort to give some insight to the ABA business owners and leaders here, how they can help to mitigate some of the factors that drove you away from the industry to maybe kind of offset those in our practice so that we can keep our people in, to keep them from doing what you did, like leave, go somewhere else. So just to kind of get to the beginning here, like what got you into the ABA field in the first place?
Oh yeah, great question. And again, I have so many answers and so much context that we can't fit in this hour or however long we have, but I'll try to keep it short. But what got me into ABA, I was right out of high school, eager young lad, wanting to take on the world, and going to school at the time for theater. And I was told by my stepdad, get a job or get kicked out. So I went and found a job. And then I came across behavioral therapy, working with kids with autism. So I'm like, okay, this seems good. Nice gig, good pay too. And just instantly kind of kicked it off, loved working with the clients. And what really kind of captured me to behavior analysis is really like seeing the methodologies, seeing everything work, seeing a client learn new skills in a very unique and structured way, to see them, to understand their behavior and the functions of them, to really look at it, to like figure out the why of that. And that really like kind of fascinating drew me in. I've always been, interested in like psychology and like kind of behavior in that way too. But this really kind of like got me like hands-on experience with it and got to see client outcomes and just really take that to the next level. So that really got me into ABA.
Awesome. So I know you had some experiences as you went in. Did you go to work for so did you start off as an RBT, or like what was your first role in ABA?
Yeah.
Okay.
I started before they started requiring RBTs. So I was just a behavior therapist before, working with directly with the family. Then I got hired on to a larger company, and then from there started working through the company, and then got my RBT eventually. And then from there, I wanted to take my learning to the next level, because I feel like what didn't really drive me was working for the clients, but really the science of behavior, But I did love the clients, and I did love, again, I was a theater guy, big theater. I do a lot of comedy and actually improv and sketch on the side. So I love being playful and enjoying that, and especially using that as ways to help with client outcomes. But that really drove me to like finding behavior analysis and the science, and I really wanted to learn more. So that's what really sent me into grad school, to kind of dive me deeper into that. So that really kind of like brought more of my passions of pursuing ABA further.
So what was your driving factor to keep you on? Like, I use golf as an example, right? I'm terrible at golf. I like to go out and golf with my buddies, but when you hit that one good shot, and you have 18 holes of terrible golf, but you get that one good shot in. So what was like some examples of like those good shots that kept you in the biz?
In the biz, yeah. Specifically working with client classes, or just behavior science in general?
Yeah, I mean all of it. Like what was a good magnet, right? What could be accentuated in these practices to keep people like you attracted, like good, solid behavior therapists?
Yeah, figuring out those aha moments. Really like figuring out the tough. I had a lot of tough clients, and especially kind of later on in life. The younger ones are easy and fine, but obviously there's not that many males in the field too. So working with older kind of clients with more aggressive type patterns, but also just life skills in general. Learning, like I worked with kids or clients on like how to talk to girls, how to go to a bar, how to be a part of the community, doing all those things, how to get his first job. I got my client a first job in the community, working with that. That really drove and kind of like made me kind of like that nice swing in golf, was because not only it works, but I can make an impact, but I can make a larger impact on a larger level. So giving my clients the tools they need to go to work, and to like have that job and like earn that. He would go to the coffee shop, he would go to a library, he would enjoy his day with the coffee from there. So he'd work for a coffee. We went through a job interview and everything like that, and he was treated like a normal employee there. And I feel like that's really big as well. And another strong case was when I was working with a client one day, and in the community, and then I saw one, and I just said, "Hey, what's up, bro?" And I gave him a high five and then a fist bump. And then he said back to me, "Hey, what's up, bro?" And he did the fist bump back, and his parents, his mom started crying, because she said, "That is the first time anyone has ever treated my kid like a normal human being." And I think from there, it's just like those are really the moments that like where you can not only just drive change, but like kind of that larger level of scale of change that's truly important to the families and the people we work with.
Yeah, you're making a difference. Like, what a change in somebody's life. We talk about. I have a 4.5-year-old daughter. I'm a big Jordan Peterson fan. It's like one of his rules is don't let your children do things that annoy you, because if they do things that annoy you, it's harder for them to fit in. It's harder for them to fit in. It's harder for them to make friends. And like making that like what a huge difference that you guys get to make in people's lives just by giving those little skills, those little tidbits. It doesn't mean much to us, but to somebody who's ASD, they it's very difficult for them. So that's really cool. All right, so let's get into like some of the negative stuff. Like you get this ultimate job satisfaction from helping someone at work. It makes you want to go to work every day. I always say when I get up in the morning and I'm tying my shoes, we're all about protecting businesses and helping them scale, right? Like that's what I think about when I'm tying my shoes in the morning. So when you get up and you're tying your shoes in the morning in this role, you're thinking like, I want to go to work today and help somebody improve their lives. But what are the things that started to wear you down, right? Drive that burnout where, whether it's work environment or, it's mainly work environment. I know there's a lot of things that are difficult with clients, difficult with families, and some of that, we can't control as business owners, but what are some of the controllable aspects that were kind of unnecessary that were causing burnout for you?
Yeah, that is a loaded question, but it's also, I feel like, pretty easily answered. It's like, it's hard work. And that's not nothing to bat an eye at, but understanding how it's hard work on not only the therapist side, but the client side as well. I'm sure anyone who's listening or can work with a kid with autism knows that by like 2 or 3 p.m. and the kid's done. After lunch, the kid's done. You're not going to get much out of them. You can, obviously, of course, but there's different ways. But the burnout's real, and I think what a lot of that kind of leads to burnout, right, is when, because I like defining things. That's what our science is, really defining things and getting down to the actual cause of things. So to me, I'm defining burnout when the pay is outweighed by the effort. So the effort put in by the therapist is not, and what I mean by pay is like, it can be actual physical pay, but, or like monetary pay, but just the payoff, the consequences, what you get out of it. It's not worth the effort at that point. That is what burnout is, where there's no growth, no opportunity, and when the pay doesn't match the effort put in, or when the recognition is put in. I remember several instances, like I just explained, like I got 2 clients, like a job at a coffee shop in a library, and literally like made a community partner with this large business in this community, a very fairly large community in California, and I was not recognized at all for that by the company. Completely not even. And like someone got employee of the month for having a good star attitude. And don't get me wrong, I think employee of the month is a terrible way to go about it at recognition, things like that. But I feel like that's a great example of you're not capturing what good employees are doing, and you're not capturing the good behavior that people want to do. Like that effort and like that I put into that was not recognized by my company or by my peers. And like, again, I don't need that. But again, that's an example of like, there is not certain things. We're not rewarding the good. We're not rewarding the things we want to see. And most importantly, we're not allowing for opportunities for people to be doing things like that. So I feel like that was a big one. It's just, again, the effort and honestly, the growth as well. I recognized I was second year grad school. I was pretty much outperforming most of the BCBAs that I was working with. And it's just not at like a performance level, but just like understanding of like the knowledge, because I went to a really rigorous program. But I was past my role. I exceeded the place in which I was at. And the only next level was BCBA. And then I'm like, okay, well, what's after that? Okay, maybe a senior BCBA, maybe a clinical director, maybe I own my own clinic. That's it. And I asked myself, I'm like, in 5 years, do I really want to be here? And I answered no. And what I recognized was that there's a big guilt that comes along with that too. Because obviously a lot of therapists and working with kids with autism, what's the number one thing anyone says to them? Oh, you're so brave. Oh, you have so much patience. Oh, you're so noble. Oh, you're doing such a good and that is not a reward. That is not an effort. That is not something. And that is in companies that will use that. A lot of ABA companies will use that care for the clients as a way to maximize burnout and maximize kind of gain out of their employees. And that just only further goes to the burnout. So utilizing the kids, and I had to like really deal with that guilt, and I recognized that guilt from a lot of different people. And I was like, wow, this like, I do love the clients. I do love the work, but it is not something I want to trade my time and effort for at that level, especially for the kind of lifestyle and like the goals and accomplishments that I wanted to do and achieve into life. So I feel like that's a big one too. So to kind of summarize a lot, I feel like not recognizing growth and recognizing really efforts that are put in by therapists in a proper recognition way, not a pizza party, not anything. Like at the end of the day, people go to work for money. So obviously there's life fulfillment, there's other fulfillment that they can get out of that, but that is a main factor of it. And you cannot leverage that guilt of working for the clients as a way for the therapist. You have to fairly compensate them in other different ways. So social recognition alongside with financial compensation, but also just the growth, like understanding. There's a book that I recommend that we can maybe talk about later, but talks about capacity. Gilbert, for his human compounds, I have it right here. It's like my Bible. But for any leaders and like
God, Gilbert's is that the Gilbert's number or
no? It's Gilbert's human competence. I don't know why this is.
Okay.
But here it is. But I'll post in the chat. I'll post in the chat link. But what he talks about is, and this is great for any business leader, any leader in general, or anyone running a clinic. But what he talks about, he's a behavior scientist. But what he talks about is that the capacity for a role, either someone can meet that capacity or exceeds that capacity. And if they exceed that capacity, you need to find a capacity that fits for them, something that fits their skills and things. And it's sad to say that the structure of our clinics are like therapist, clinical director, ABA, or like BCBA, and like really it's very small. There's very small capacity for many. Thank you so much. Kirolos, yeah, appreciate it.
My pleasure.
How do you say your name? Sorry.
It's Kiro. It's easier, but it's
Okay,
Kiro.
Kiro. Yeah. All right. Thank you. I appreciate it. My last name's really hard too. It's 27 points in Scrabble.
So I want to pause
Yeah,
here for a second.
yeah, go for it,
I want to
please.
pause here for a second
go
and
for it.
kind of I want to push back on you about something.
Sure. Go
So
ahead.
everybody has their love language, right? So
Yeah.
Dr. Gary Chapman, like in any relationship, whether it's a spouse or a child or you're a teacher and you're dealing with your student, you're a BCBA, you're dealing with your client, right?
Yeah.
And if you're an employer, you're dealing with your employee, right? People want to hear either words of affirmation, acts of service, receiving gifts, quality time, or physical touch. Like it's usually one of those 5 things, right? Like that big hug at the end of the day, thank you for everything you're doing. That might mean more to an employee who's on the verge of burnout than a $50 Amazon gift card or something like that as a bonus, or the supervisor pulling somebody aside and saying, "Hey, let's go grab lunch together. I just like to talk to you for a little while and maybe build our relationship a little bit." Right now, some people are completely money motivated. I don't want to go to lunch. I don't need a pat on the back. Pay me, right? And some of us are geared that way. I like the hug, the handshake, the bro hug, that kind of stuff. But I'm also very focused on finance, right? Like I want to make sure that my family's secure, and that's the most important thing. And we're coming to work to do this, and that's it. But everybody kind of wants some combination of all of those things. And you've expressed that your needs in those areas weren't met. So I think the way that I would probably sum up that advice is not necessarily just pay everybody more, because not all of us, we don't have it in the budget, right? But when you're onboarding a new employee, we've got our intake for our clients and onboarding for our new employees, right? Those 2 processes are extremely important, and I think more and more ABA business leaders are focusing on those 2 things. But part of your onboarding process for an employee should really be gaining an understanding. There's surveys that you can do, quizzes and things like that, personality tests. You can do the DISC test, things like that. But really kind of finding out what that person's priorities are and keeping them at the front of your mind, understand what that person's love language is, and speak it to them regularly, right? Not so much where they know that, okay, we're getting a daily email from the boss that is automated, like, something like that. But, really being genuine about it, really reaching that person, talking to them where they sit, right? And going to where they are and understanding what it is that they want out of their job, like what their satisfaction is. Because my wife is a neurology nurse practitioner. There's a big difference between somebody who is a caretaker and a business person. Now, you can be both. And in fact, if we're in the ABA industry and we own a business or we're in management, we have to be both, right? So, it's something where we have to be able to pick from the baskets of each of those things and add them into our toolbox and make sure that we have all those tools that are necessary. And, hey, behavior analysis gives you a lot of extra tools that you can also use to your advantage to really understanding what your employees need, what your team needs, right? I always say I'm the CEO. My job is to take care of my team. Their job is to take care of the customers, right? So being that constant backup and support there is good. All right, so you're in the BCBA role. And how many years were you in that role for?
I was not a BCBA. No.
Oh, you went to the I'm sorry. Yeah, so you went to the graduate thing. You were the behavior therapist.
I was a behavior therapist. That's when I decided not to pursue BCBA, because I saw myself. I kind of connected that and with all that. And I guess to comment on what you were saying earlier too, like I agree, it's not just pay more either. It's multifaceted. But also taking everyone to lunch isn't scalable as well. But what I'm guessing what I'm really trying to say is because I don't want people to run with, oh yeah, pat on the back or just pay more or whatever, or kind of meet that. There has to be scalable to some way. And it has to be to understand, because Gilbert also says, it's never just a training issue. It's expectations and feedback is the largest one. So finding ways to make working environments comfortable for your employees, and then that they're getting the proper consequences, whether it's a pat on the back or whether it's that too, because recognition goes a far way too, but it's never just these things alone. and recognition, and then people can really like, again, use that recognition as coercion in some way, like, oh well, I'm doing a good job, I'm getting praise for it, I must, it's worth it to go and be burnt. But that's what causes burnout, again, because those systemic things are not being addressed by the concerns of the working environment. But yeah, just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and the onboarding process from people that I've talked to in both roles is you're either drinking from a fire hose and getting just ramrodded with so much information that you can't retain it. You come out of your training phase and go out to do your job, and that information is not sticking, right? Or you get basically no training, get dropped into the shark tank and say, here, you know what to do. Go take care of it, right? You've done this before. Oh, you have experience. We hired someone with experience. Perfect. Let's just drop them right in there and let them do their thing, right?
Oh, yeah.
So they're not really building a system around getting that person educated, and then having that incremental training and support that goes along with it. And I've heard that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
So during your time as a therapist, what were like the challenges you faced that came up, like work environment, culture, that kind of stuff that could really be improved at any, kind of across the industry? What were the things that you saw that could be changed or modified?
There was I think that as a whole, the model of BCBA therapist client is not working. We can get results, but as a mass scale business, we can see how that's what's causing the burnout. There is a lot of demands on the therapist and on the clients and on the BCBA at that point. There needs to be some systemic changes to the roles of all three of those, and we can't really focus on the client, right? Because we can't change what the client's role is, but we have to really think about what therapist roles are and BCBA roles are, because BCBA is essentially doing two jobs. They need to manage the kid and all the paperwork and finances side. So one thing like that, make two roles out of that. At that point, have some other different areas, have people that, again, and you have that capacity, people who are better with books, people who are better with these things, people who are better on the more analytical side. They can maybe design programs and design, do the paperwork side. But on the other side, the people who love the clients, but also have that analytic side too, they can have more face time with the clients. Because again, a lot of BCBAs don't get to look at their clients a lot too. They have to depend upon the therapist, but the therapist has to make sure the kid doesn't die, first off, that their needs be met, they're being nourished, they're being cared for, their emotional state's right, but also they have to learn the different things and all the different lessons and things like that. So there's a lot for the therapist. So maybe having shorter shifts for the therapist as well, shorter shifts for the clients as well. For that is a good one as well, even though that needs to meet the 9 to 5 standard for parents, because obviously they drop them off. But again, people who can solve these issues really creatively, I feel like, will dominate the market right now, because the people who are breaking the business model and understanding autism services in a different way are the people who are really going to achieve success beyond their peers and probably revolutionize the field in that way. Understanding how we can split up, maybe someone can take care of the actual needs of a client, in a certain way of like, maybe they're having fun, they're fed, they're comforted, but then also another therapist can focus on the lessons and things like that. And I understand that there's rapport in between. I'm very aware of all that. But again, we're talking a more philosophical level, not really a logistics or tactical level. But again, we can talk at other places. But I think for that was a big thing for me, is like seeing the burnout. I had to do many different hats at once, making sure a lot of different things, but also taking data, which is extremely important. So making the data collection faster, making that easier, but also teaching the therapist, like, because obviously, like, I had to, the training was you are with a more senior therapist and you kind of follow and do that. So having a more better shadowing approach, but better training as well. But really just clear expectations of what's needed from the therapist and that feedback that's provided, whether they're doing a good job or bad job, or just any feedback in general. But yeah, that's kind of like my take on that question of like, what are some of the things that I really wanted to see changing, or that was kind of affecting my performance. And also too, ethical business practices, like employees can sniff out, companies that don't care about them, and people that don't care about them, bosses that don't care about them. And again, and obviously for people who struggle with that, to show that empathy or to show that, but you can design systems in your workplace and design your company to care about your therapists, in that way too. So to make them feel like you're saying, give those love languages and give those kind of things, make them feel like a sense of belonging, but not like a family, but more like a community or a team and things like that.
Yeah, family brings its own drama. I always say, "Oh, we're like family. We're a family." Like, oh no, we don't need any more family.
No, exactly. Yeah,
let's be a team and
Yeah.
a workforce and a community.
Exactly.
Like, let's do all that
Right.
stuff. But
Exactly.
yeah, we're right in the middle of the holidays right now, so we're between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So like some of us had enough family for right now, right? So you are the user. You're a user experience researcher.
Yeah.
So your brain is geared towards making things a better experience in general. So what is it at how long have you been at John Deere now?
I've been at John Deere for 2.5 months. Actually, just got promoted within my first year to be the kind of 4 3 months ago to be a user experience lead now. So I actually lead a team on how to create products for the construction side of John Deere. So construction products. But yeah.
So you're in for 2.5 months or 2.5 years?
2.5 years. 2.5 years.
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
2.5 months, or sorry, 4.5 months in this new position. Or 6.
Cool.
But yeah.
All right. So being in that role for as long as you have been and kind of getting into your new role from both sides, both what you're doing as a career and what your employer is doing for you. What are some things that you've learned from your experiences at John Deere that we could apply to our ABA businesses to do exactly what you just said about designing systems, designing your workplace to speak those love languages to all of the employees?
I just got off a call not 20 minutes before this call with my manager, and we kind of talked about the last 2 years, and I commended him immensely because that he has created a team and a community of practice that truly cares for that I felt cared for, but not just cared for. I felt that I was given autonomy. So I was given like the ability to make decisions, and then to back that up, but also accountability comes with that as well. So like there was strong accountability of understanding that, and whatever it was that I needed, he was obviously there for. Any support, the check-ins were almost daily or weekly, and understanding like, hey, anything you need, you let me know. And the times when I did need things, they went to bat for me to really get those resources that I needed, and really supporting my love for behavior science. Wanted me to go to conferences, wanted me to understand more of that, present John Deere. And that's actually how Josh and I kind of connected, is I was at a conference presenting my work of John Deere, some things that, again, was fostered and cared for and pushed from that. And I'm from Dallas, Texas. So like having a lot of opportunities remotely as well, like since I am a remote worker, to have that freedom, have that understanding, have that care from his team as well, but also I'm amongst people who do care about their job as well, that I can lean on, not just in a more emotional capacity, but really as a technical capacity too. Like these people are strong in their field as well. He really wants to craft a solid team, and working together with them has been phenomenal. So really just I think the check-ins, but understanding that my tools and understanding that my skills can be best fit, because he saw me as a researcher and he's like, you know what? You're a strong conversation person. You make great relationships with people. You're funny because you're a comedian. I do comedy, and all these other skills. You would be more suited in a leadership role. So we want to give you a team of designers to work kind of going forward. So that right there, he saw an opportunity rather than being greedy. Me like, I want you to stay on my team. He's like, this is a good opportunity that fits your kind of, you are beyond this capacity. So right there, recognizing my potential, recognizing my skills can be fit and be done elsewhere was probably something really successful that I've seen that John Deere has been doing. And I actually had a worked for a autism clinic here in Dallas where the leader of the owner of the clinic and the business she knew that I was into theater. She was into dance as well. And she was like, you know what? I want you to put on an improv class for our clients here at the clinic. And, we can work on, and she asked me, what are some things we can work on? I'm like, oh, well, we can work on social skills. We can work on, maybe they can take jokes so they can make friendships, things like that
Really?
too. So that was a perfect example of like, hey, you know what, I'll pay you for it too. So you don't have to work as a therapist at this time. I'll put together a class and then we'll do it with this way too. And that was probably a great example of like, she recognized that my needs weren't being met there, but she also recognized that I was growing into that role. But again, she recognized that and she said, you know what, I want to do that. And then I was also really into like business consulting and OBM as well. And she said, you know what, like I want to give you some things around my clinic to have you practice your business consulting. Let's do it. And she enabled that as well. So that was probably a fantastic example of like recognizing the skills that I cared about, which is comedy and OBM and, you know, business consulting as well, and giving me those opportunities, but still be as a therapist, but finding ways to not only compensate me for that, but also have a way for me to try out and like be engaged in the things I cared about. That is a great example of those things.
So I'm hearing engagement, recognition of skills,
Yes.
Opportunities for personal growth,
Yes.
and also just paying attention to people, right? Like looking at what they have. If you've got a therapist who is plays the piano, like work that into your clinic, work it into your day, right? Because if you've got something that you love to do and you can bring that to work and do that at work and actually improve your situation at work and the team around you, that's amazing. Like, so look for those things. If you could go to work all day and do improv comedy, you'd probably never leave the ABA industry.
Not at all.
You'd still be in it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, it's about finding that one little thing, that golf shot, right? That one thing that keeps you coming back. So give your key employees, especially the key ones, but all of them if possible, build those things into their workday. So from a ABA, from somebody who owns an ABA or is, a manager, right? Somebody who can make decisions within this box that we have, where we have to work it within the laws and regulations and what the requirements are. Like, give us 3 things that would just be a quick, understandable, simple thing to do in an ABA environment, an ABA clinic environment, to kind of accentuate what we've got going on here, right? I mean, I'm thinking like maybe like gaining an understanding, first of all, who the person is, right? Really understanding the employee, the team member. So what are their skills outside of work? What are their hobbies outside of work? What is their love language? What are the things that they're into? I know Kiro here is completely obsessed with pickleball, right? So if I want to do something fun with Kiro, it's going to be a pickleball thing, right? Josh is a wrestler and a jiu-jitsu guy. So if he wants to, he can beat me up if that brings him job satisfaction, right? Khalid is like this great technical mind. He lives really close to the pyramids in Egypt, right? So we can crack jokes on him about being a pharaoh and stuff, right? So
that's what I do.
It's like you pick the stuff out, and Khaled's been on our team for about a month now, so I haven't learned all these things about Khaled, right? So shame on me. But what are some tactics that can be used to implement these long-term strategies to prevent burnout?
Yeah, no, great question. Always ask yourself this question: is it a skill issue or is it a motivation issue? It's always one of those two things. If your employee can do it, if their life depended on it, it's not a skill issue. It's definitely a motivation issue, which kind of leads into my next point, which is like, if it is a motivation issue, understand like what is the growth, what is the capacity, what is the skills of this person, what really motivates them, what drives them, what makes them want to be a part of that, and understand that they're not going to be there forever, and that's an unfortunate thing. But understanding that this may be a stepping stone for just some people, that they may go into SLP, they may be going to occupational therapy, they may be going to working for John Deere, but creating those relationships and creating those partnerships and giving them the capacity, and be a connected leader in your community as well. If someone, like, obviously, if someone loves pickleball, I'm going to be like, all right, you know what? Like, I do know someone in the community that plays pickleball. Oh, you should talk to so-and-so. Or like, hey, you know what? Like, so-and-so's like kid has, autism too. Oh, it'd be great to talk to them. Or like, hey, I know a great comedy kind of theater, over in Dallas. Let me connect you with the manager there. Understanding wherever they want to go next, and to really like be a strong stepping stone for them, because then you recognize and you build that expectation between both of them. Like, okay, we both know, hey, you do see yourself working here in a couple of years, obviously through honesty. They'll be like, you know what? Yeah, in a couple of years, I'm going to be graduating college, and I want to go and be an opera singer. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. Like, let me see if I have any opera contacts, or tell me more about it. Finding ways to connect them and make them successful afterwards would probably be the most like beneficial thing, because then at that point you're understanding their capacity and how they can fit at this time here, rather than like, oh, they're going to leave, so I'm just going to like cut my losses and move on to something else. That makes them feel like they're cared for, they're a part of, and things like that. And like, especially if they want to do something else, SLP, like, oh, I know a great SLP that I should connect you with. So finding connections and ways to, and that obviously comes from the business leaders, to be invested and knowledgeable in the communities, but also invested in their employees as well. So finding ways to connect them outside and give them better opportunities, at that point, or just a different opportunity if they know that that's not there. Because then you never know who may come back, or they may know someone as well. Then it's like, hey, if you know anyone in college that you seem as a good fit, please send them my way. And then at that point they know that it's care and it's genuine. And again, it's be genuine, be authentic, have empathy. Again, we all can recognize when someone's not being genuine and when it's not being authentic. And we all recognize terrible bosses, terrible systems, terrible workplaces, places that don't care about us. Have that same care and empathy. Be authentic in the actual like investment of your employees, because it'll be worth it. Then it won't really turn into burnout. It'll turn into, you have a performing employee who wants to be there. And then, and knowing that they'll be temporary, or give them opportunities within the clinic as well. Like, you know what? Yeah, I see that you really don't work well with the kids, but man, your data is amazing. Tell me more about this. You know what? We'd love for you to look over the data of some of this. Hey, work with the BCBAs on the off time to talk about data or something like that. Oh, we'd love to have you be a data kind of organizer for the team on something like that. So find ways and opportunities to leverage people's skills in that way.
So, I think one of the biggest stressors, and maybe the people that are watching this this video are thinking like, man, I don't have time. I don't have time to go and put out this extra effort. And I feel that way all the time when somebody says, hey, you need to introduce this new skill, this new routine into your week or into your day. Like, man, I work 100 hours a week, right? I can't, I got a 4.5-year-old daughter, my wife, I've got my family. Like, we've got all these things that we need to do outside of work, and we're already swamped inside of work. But to those people who are thinking that, because I know I think the same thing, I will submit to you that your investment of time into an employee who works for you, you're going to get a lot more for your time out of that investment than you would get from just having to find another replacement for them and train them. Because training, onboarding is, no matter how you do it, it doesn't matter how you do it, it is the biggest time suck for any business leader is, recruiting and training. Focus on retention, focus on the retaining. That's why we had you here today. So I really do appreciate you coming. Do we have any other questions from the chat? I know Jennifer had mentioned something about I can't see the Q&A on my screen for some reason.
It's on
Oh,
the
here we
chat.
go. So Jennifer said we allowed staff to job craft or create niches of things that they enjoy as a way to mitigate burnout. This is exactly what we're talking about. Perfect. And then based on research that adding to your plate does not always increase burnout. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you take something that, adding to your job, if you just keep adding up this, building on things that are stressors, right? That's the kind of stuff that creates burnout, right? But a lot of people still have energy to go out to the bar or go to the gym or go do whatever after work. You're not completely burnt out. You just don't want to do that one particular thing anymore in your brain mentally. We all have our limits. So yeah, Jennifer, I think that's dead on. Adding to your plate doesn't increase burnout as long as you're adding the right things to your plate. Add some de-stressors in there, right? And finding those things like the job craft or niches, like she's talking about. Find something you enjoy, and that kind of leads back to the job specialization you were referring to earlier, right? If you've got a BCBA who's really good with the kids, but really slow or sloppy or whatever with their data, find the people that are strong and weak in those different areas. If somebody else can step into that role, or somebody else who's really good at it can coach them on it, right? Like put them in that leadership position, put them in that specialized role, where and there's always the 80-20 rule, because a lot of us are getting into the ABA industry to help children with autism, and they might feel if they get too far away from that they're losing some of that job satisfaction, some of that mission that they've set out on, right? So maybe it's we divide it up a little bit where they're still doing some stuff with clients but doing more data entry or data analysis, right? So I really appreciate you coming, Eddie. This is it's really awesome of you to be here. Also, thank you for being a part of our community, because Eddie's not going anywhere. He's going to be here as part of this group, and you can always ask him a question, run something by him. This is obviously still his passion.
Yes.
But again, Eddie, thank you for coming.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the time, and thanks for the opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
You're already doing the work, investing your time, your energy, and your vision. So let's make it count. Build something that works without breaking you. The EBCBA Blueprint is the way. Get started for free with our foundation course.